Hello, everybody. How we doing, people? Welcome to Power of Africa Conference 2023. The theme for this year is The Future is Africa. And if you're watching from Africa, let me know which nation. I am from Kenya. My name is Tess Waka. I'm a radio host. I am an event organizer and an advertising consultant. I enjoy having conversations in the media because media is so powerful. And that is going to be our session today, media, arts, and culture. And we have amazing panelists that are going to be talking to us. We're going to get to know a bit about them. And so we'll just get to start with our first panelist, a lovely lady, Jazara is our first panelist.
Hi, good afternoon, Tess. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for the invite to participate in Power of Africa Conference 2023. I am Jazara Ajiman of Jazara Fashion Alchemy. I currently live in Ghana. I was originally born in the US. I've been living in Ghana for many years now, so I call myself a Ghanaian. A little bit about me. I am a fashion designer. I am a business consultant. I am a public speaker. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a musician. And I call myself a serial entrepreneur. I have many different businesses that I have going on, as well as being an owner of an NGO. So I'm really, again, excited to be here. Looking forward to our conversation today. And I've been doing work within the arts and media and fashion for over 20 years. So it's a good conversation to have. So I'm ready for today. So thank you so much.
So nice to meet you. So nice to meet you, Jazara. And you're saying 20 years and you just look like you were born the other day. I'm trying to calculate your age.
Amen. Amen. My birthday was just a couple weeks ago.
Forever 18. We're excited to have you and we look forward to getting to know you as we have this discussion. All right. Our second panelist is Prince, who's going to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what he does. All right, Prince, are you there? All right, so we're just going to go ahead and have a chat with Jazara. It's going to be a lot of questions for you.
That's all right. We are here. We are here. We know how technology likes to play with us, so it's okay.
Yeah, and you've mentioned that you do a lot of things. We'll also talk about that. But I think before we can just begin, let's get to talk about Africa. There we go. Is Prince back? I think we can have Prince just introduce himself. Prince, you're a second panelist. Tell us a little bit about yourself and hello to everyone that's watching.
Thank you very much. My name is Prince Akpa. I'm glad to be joining the call from Ghana. So hi, Jazara. We are in the same country. And I manage a company. I founded a company called Advanced Media, which is involved in trying to rewrite the story of the continent by celebrating individuals and organizations that are doing so amazing and putting the continent on the map. I'm also involved in community management for organizations such as Africans Rising and the Africa Bitcoin community. And I'm very, very, very excited to be speaking about media, art, and culture and how we can use it to develop our continent, Africa. Thank you.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Prince, and getting to learn everything that you're doing. We'll get to know each other more even as we get to have this conversation. Well, we're going to dig right in and just get into a conversation. But just to remind you, the theme is The Future is Africa. If you're joining this conference and you're part of it, welcome to Power of Africa 2023. And we're just going to have media, arts, and culture. This is the segment for that. And the topic of discussion today is shaping the African narrative, propagating the developed Africa paradigm, and celebrating Africa's cultural value. I feel so excited because if there was any second name for Africa, it would be culture. We take our culture very seriously. And Jazara, I'm just going to throw in a question to you. And maybe in another life, I would have been a fashion designer. I I'll come for classes. But when you think about celebrating Africa's cultural value, where is the place of fashion? What's the role
Um,
of
as
fashion?
being in a fashion industry and as a designer for about 20 years, I've always focused on the tradition and the authenticity of African fabric. I've also been very instrumental in teaching the history of Africa as I do my fashions. So when you're a fashion designer, you really have a lot more power over the media than you know. When someone goes to the red carpet, what are they looking at? What are you wearing? Who are you wearing? What do you have on? They want to know where your jewelry comes from. What is this? What is that? So that's my opportunity as a fashion designer to present authentic Ghana fabrics, authentic fabrics from other African countries, and give a description of that so people can get used to seeing that as something that is high and formal, formidable, and something to be seen. So I believe as a fashion designer, I do have that opportunity to present that to the masses through the media. So that's something that I love to do. I love to dress people who are on the red carpet, people who are being displayed, and to let them know that this is African culture. It's not just a dress. This is the culture. This style is the culture. This authentic fabric being made and produced in an African country is the culture.
That's amazing. So when I come to Ghana, I know I have someone to dress me if they call me
Oh,
for
you have
some
to come.
function
I will
and
measure you
everything.
up fast. Easy.
I will hold you to that. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jazara, for that. Speaking that the place of media as a place to expose fashion, it couldn't really be great when you have all these ideas and great things to showcase and there's no media to expose that. And even as we talk about media, arts, and culture, the place of the media in developing Africa is something we can't really fail to mention. Well, I want to just
Mhm.
throw a question to Prince, and it's interesting that both of you are from Ghana.
We
I
are
feel like
here.
I'm gonna leave this conference having learned a few of some language from Ghana, but I think Prince, I want to ask you on the challenge. All right, let me just bring the context of this. When we mention Africa, there's always misconceptions. And media plays a big role. I mean, the internet. There's always, if you just ask anyone that is not even of Africa what they think about Africa or what they know, probably some of the things they have is just an idea. And I think I want you to just address the challenge prevailing the stereotypes and misconceptions about Africa through media, storytelling, and cultural representation. Where's the place of that, and how do we handle that? Prince, you need to,
Uh,
yes, we're good now.
yeah, thank you very much. I discovered the power of media at a very young age while I was in high school. And I'm very excited to even be recording this conversation from a high school. So this is where my entire media journey started from. In school, friends and I came together to start an organization or a club focused on discerning news to the students' population. And what we used to do is every Monday and every Friday, we used to come and read news. The school gave us the opportunity to read news because the school was a boarding house. So it means that most people don't have access to information or what was even happening outside the borders of the school. So that is where the journey of storytelling actually started. So the school gave us opportunity to every Monday and every Friday we read news headlines to the entire student's body. At the age of 19, after leaving high school, I was made an editor in chief of a newspaper, which is not defunct, by the way. And all those experiences helped me to start an organization called Advanced Media and also helped me to get involved in telling the story about people on the continent. Definitely, there will be a lot of challenges. So, at Advanced Media, what we normally do, we publish various rankings. One of our popular rankings is a ranking on women, where we normally publish a ranking of 100 influential African women every year. And within that period, you see how the entire continent comes together celebrate these people. The reason why they will come at a particular time is because the media has been challenged in telling the story of the continent in a proper way. We have a lot of success stories on the continent, but why is it that every single time it is only the bad news that makes the headline? We have a lot of people on the continent doing amazing things. Why is it that it's only the people that do the bad things that are going to be the talk of news headlines across the continent? So definitely we need to challenge the stereotypes and misconceptions about Africa. And how do we do it? We have to harness the power of media, storytelling, and our cultural representation. And through this, we need to highlight the continent's progress and the development through impactful narratives that should propagate the story of a developed Africa. So every year, when we put out a list of, let's say, 100 influential young Africans, then people read their stories and then they discover, wow, these talents are on the continent. It's quite shocking that it is through our list that some people discover that there are young people on the continents that have a unicorn business, that are leading multinational business across the world. And for us to change the narrative, I think we need to continuously showcase the success stories of people and our nations. There are so many stories across. There are so many amazing people. There are so many successful people. Talking about Tony Elumelu, see how we have been able to carve their story to tell, and the whole world is actually excited to have such a businessman. I mean, representing the entire continent or even supporting other people. So if we have all those people, I believe, or we have those stories on the continent, I believe that we can be able to challenge the kind of misconception people have about the continent. I believe that through my list, I've been able to do my part. And I believe that through the other organizations that I'm also working with, we have been able to put information together to be able to change the misconception that people have about the continent. And I also think that we need to have partnerships with international media outlets and such initiatives such as this program that we are speaking on to be able to retell the story of the continent. Because if we have such partnerships and we give them access to information, access to individuals that can tell the story of Africa proper, I definitely believe that we can actually reshape the narrative and shed light, more light on Africa's advancement and dispelling outdated misconceptions about our dear continent.
Yeah, you've said a lot of
Thank
amazing things. Thank you so much, Prince. I think one of the things that as a media practitioner that we are given is bad news sells. So I go and put out the bad news, and there's a personal responsibility sometimes, um, if not all of the times, to make sure these amazing stories that no one is telling because maybe they don't have ratings or they don't bring the numbers that we owe it to ourselves to bring that up. And you've mentioned something about the media being able to do something. I want to just connect that and ask Jazara a question here. You did mention that as a fashion designer, you would go out in those spaces and expose yourself and use those platforms. But then what is the responsibility of those in the media, the other side now, to ensure to showcase a developed Africa? You take the initiative as a fashion designer, but then what are some of the responsibilities that the media can do to be able to showcase the developed Africa, especially in the context of fashion?
So everything that Prince said is exactly true. I think the
Mm,
media's responsibility is to change the narrative. The narrative, as you said, is if it's negative, it sells. So they want to show
mm,
the things that are not positive and things like that. But the media has the power to say, no, this is the story that I'm going to take. Once you get
yeah.
to that point in your career of the media, you have pull. You have pull. There are certain people who don't have pull, but there are some who they can choose the story they take. So it really
Mm,
is up to them to see that this has to change. So I'm going to take, instead of the story of the man at the Trotro arguing, I'm going to take the story of this gorgeous educator getting an award with this beautiful kente cloth gown on and being recognized. So the responsibility also has to do with integrity. It has a lot to do with the integrity of the media. So you have to be able to stand up for yourself as well as for whatever African country that you're in, and be able to say, no, I'm not going to follow that. Or maybe it comes to a point where you say, no, I don't want to do that story. We have all of these other stories. I know me personally, myself, since I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations and I do public speaking, I'm constantly looking for media outlets, my story, who will come and talk to me. But I can tell you the truth, it can be a little difficult because most of the things that I'm speaking about is positivity in Africa and positivity in Ghana. So it's like they're waiting for like some horror story to come out. And I don't have a horror story. It's all positive. So
Yeah.
sometimes even that can be a challenge. So to have someone within the media who says, this is a good story, this is a positive story, let's take this so we can start to more showcase that. I love Prince's idea of the 100 most influential people, the 100 most great people here, because it's like he said, it forces you, and him being in the media, he's chosen his integrity. It forces you to focus on those 100 people who are positive, so that if there's another negative story going on, you don't have to mind this negative story. It forces you to say, oh, I want to pay attention to what he's saying, and you will eventually go look them up. Even with the opportunity right now that Power of Africa Conference is giving us to speak to people about our own stories. With the
Yeah.
two of us being here, maybe someone would never know who we were. And with the two of us being here now, someone will go and want to look up, who are these people? They seem to be having a positive impact in Ghana. And so that by itself is changing the narrative of what the media is able to showcase and, hopefully shift the integrity of the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. I think mentioning the aspect of integrity and even breaking the narrative that Africa has all this bad things when we talk about governance and we talk about school and education and media, and sometimes it's heartbreaking for me as a media practitioner. But then, like they say, good is always rewarded whenever you do good.
Mhm.
There's always a reward, and so sometimes it's just two people or three people out of 25 in a country that have decided
Mhm.
they will air positive news. And I think even as media practitioners, when we see the effects of just airing negative content, probably sometimes we're
Mhm.
not in spaces where we see the effects. But I have been part of conversations and seen the effects of negative influence through the media. I mean,
Mhm.
currently in our nation Kenya, there's demonstrations everywhere and it's not a good time. And when
Mhm.
you see that there's anything that the media contributed, it's really heartbreaking. And I think sometimes it's
Mhm.
important to look at the effects that this negative content brings, and then it's enough to just change your heart. But like what Prince has said, sometimes
Exactly.
it's a personal place, it's a personal decision to decide, I'm not going to be part of that. And like I say, for me, with the I've been in media for, this is going to be my 13th year, and truly there's
Mm.
always a reward. There's always a reward when you choose to not do the status quo, when you choose to stand alone and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to be a voice that will be used to be a negative influence in the society. And like you said, there's so much to sell about Africa in the media. I love
For
advertising. When they
sure.
say in advertising, you highlight the benefits of something. The whole aspect of advertising when you're trying to sell is to show this person that this product is good. And so you go
Mhm.
and highlight all the benefits of this product. You sell the good things about it. And I think as a media, even in Africa, we have a lot of grounds to do that concerning Africa and sell Africa as this amazing continent that it is, with all these amazing things. Well, I think as we get to just proceed, I want you to just I don't know if Prince is able to respond to this. Seeing that he's not in, so we'll continue, Jazara, as we get to work on Prince, just getting to answer a few questions. So when I think about Africa and fashion, I think there's been a lot of growth. I mean, long gone are the days that you would tell your parents, I want to go to fashion school. In Africa, that's like abomination. What, you want to do fashion? Go to medical school, be a teacher. And I feel there's been a
Mhm.
lot of growth today that we have a lot of designers from Africa doing a lot of things, not just in Africa, names that are going beyond the continent. And when we talk
Mhm.
about a developed Africa, for you, are there maybe specific things that you'd say, this is an area of growth? I mean, this is not where we are in Africa as far as fashion is concerned. And this is where we are today. Maybe a few of that before we can get to proceed.
I feel like, as I said, I've been a designer for a while and I lived most of my life in the US. So in the
Hmm.
US, I was, I'm going to speak from that point because my real purpose in the US was to get people to understand how beautiful African fashion was in the US with the
Yeah.
African Americans that live there. And it was sometimes challenging because from a fashion standpoint, it didn't go past like the dashiki. You know, it was like, okay, we wear the dashiki and that's it. But I'm like, African
Mm.
fashion is so much more than that. I can speak from personal experience that I have learned more from the seamstresses here in Ghana that are so super talented that it's like once I moved here, I flourished so much more. And it is becoming more acceptable now, even through my own NGO. I have short classes for younger children in JHS and SHS who have shown such an interest in fashion so that I'm able to start small classes for them to teach them how to
Mm.
sew. And within that, I teach them culture because I
Yeah.
believe that it is important for us to start with the youth because most grown people are set in their ways. If we can instill that culture, that African culture, that pride that they should have in it's not just fashion, it is fashion and culture and heritage and history. It's our
Yeah.
history. The kente cloth is our history. The way you wrap your head is history.
It
Sometimes,
is.
I just tell the children, it really is. Like I had a woman in the village tell me that when you wrap your head and cover your ears, that means you're sick. So someone can just look at you in the village and say, oh, she's not feeling well. So when I came to her with my head wrap across my ear, she moved it up. She said, are you feeling fine? I said, I'm fine. And she moved it
Mm.
above my ears. She said, if it's down on your ears, that means you're not feeling well. That's culture. That's our
It is
culture.
culture.
So in order to spread that, you have to teach the children as well as the adults, because I can tell an adult that right now and they will have no idea.
Yeah.
Even the authentic Ghana fabrics that we use, some of them have writings on the bottom. These
Mm.
fabrics have meanings. There's one that I
Yeah.
keep, it's called the ladder of death. And it basically means the ladder of death will reach everyone. But it's a very common one that you will see around. But I'm sure most people don't even understand exactly the meaning of the fabric they're wearing. So I believe that
Mm.
all of these things for me, and I know I'm an educator, so it all comes down to education for me
Yeah.
often, but it really is about educating ourselves and educating the youth because
Mm.
as long as we understand, we can show them. And if we can show
Yeah.
them, we can show the world. If we can show
Yeah.
them, we can show the world, we can show ourselves. So, like I said before, I love being a fashion designer because the more people that I create for, the more designers that I get in touch with to create for and to create for me, we're spreading the narrative that
Yeah. Okay. I think we lost Jazara there. Are you still there, Jazara? Seems like
this fashion is. There we go. Am I back?
we're
Fantastic.
good. Yes, we're good. We're good. We're good now. Okay. I think we've lost Jazara again. You know, recently I just attended it was sort of a pre-graduation practice for a college. It was a college that was a specific class that was graduating, and so they were doing some rehearsals. I think Jazara is back. We'll get to you, Jazara. Can you get to hear me? Are you good now?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay, yes, we lost you for a minute, but I hope you'll be able to gather your thoughts. I was saying that recently I got to be part of a pre-graduation ceremony. They were rehearsing for the graduation, and they invited me as a media practitioner. They had different departments, and the program was interesting with food and music and all kind of causes, and the college that offers. And one of the things that I enjoyed before I wasn't able to stay the entire bit is they had this class, the fashion class, that was showcasing some fashion work. They're still students, and so they were just showing off some fashion work, and it was very interesting because they didn't say anything. They were just showing culture by a fashion show, and it's been long since I attended a fashion show. And one of the things that they did a category for movies and a category for animations and cartoons. And so they would dress like very famous animations that people could tell. And they were doing different sessions. So they had fashion based on career. They would have an air hostess walk in, a chef, an engineer dressed with all that. And when they came to the movies, they did a lot of very famous movies. But when they just did the Wakanda outfit, the whole hall was like so clapping because they really got the outfit right, and we know the movie Black Panther really sold the culture for Wakanda. And so it was I think I was on my phone, and all of a sudden I'm hearing people clap, and I'm like, oh, like Wakanda. And there's this outfit, I'm sure it's a movie that everybody has watched, and they've put this outfit, and it was like rewatching the movie, rewatching it again. But to give that experience is to show of the importance of culture, and Africa is really, really big on that in every area, even in the media. I mean, you could tell this is an African TV station. This is something about the place of culture, and you mentioned that it carries the history, it carries the memories, it's so much in just one thing. Just that one thing carries all these things, and sometimes you don't need to even say much, but just by exposing the culture of Africa, even in fashion. Well, Jazara, I think before we go to have a bit of some technical challenges, you were mentioning emphasizing on the place of culture when it comes to fashion, and how much the culture industry, the fashion industry has grown, and media has been a big part of it. But I think maybe you could mention some of the challenges and advantages of integrating original culture and that of African American, because from your background and being born in the US, living there and coming back to Africa, just some of the challenges, the advantages of integrating original culture and that of African American diaspora culture into current arts and media projects. Because if we can see that's where we're going, sometimes we just don't stand alone. We see that we will meet other cultures halfway. And I think with your experience and background, maybe you could tell us more about that.
Yeah, moving here, you can't negate the culture that you had before you moved to Ghana. So even if you're using these African fabrics, you still have the ideas of how you would wear them when you were in the States. And certain things that you wear in the States are not as acceptable to wear when you're here in Ghana. So it sometimes can clash. It sometimes doesn't, roll as smoothly as you want it to roll. So it's kind of like you really have to learn how to integrate the African and the African American within the fashion so that you can remain respectable to the Ghana culture. Like you can't just like have all kinds of things hanging out. I have a pin in my dress right here so that my boobs are not hanging out. If I was in the States, the boobs would be out. Nobody would care. But since we are in Ghana, you have to do it differently. So when I'm making things for people, I have to think about different things. So those are some of the challenges, just learning the culture so that I can still be respectful of the culture, but still stay true to my brand and what it is that I want to do. So those two things integrated. I've done it. I've been able to do it very well, and I'm learning more. And it seems like some of the African American culture is pushing a little bit over here, so it's been getting a little easier. But it's
Yeah.
still, to me, for myself, I like to stay true to the culture and always be respectful.
Mhm. And I think the place of interacting with different cultures exposes you to understand cultures in different contexts, because sometimes when you get advantages of traveling and living in different places, nothing can beat an experience. It's one thing when you're told in this place you cannot do
For
this, and you're
sure.
like, why are they? And then you get to be in that place and you understand their context, and you're like, oops. And I think it's important. I love quoting the Bible a lot, and this is not from the Bible. People like to say, when you go to Rome, do what the Romans do, but it there's a place of just getting to understand the context of the other cultures, and not just being judgmental, like you said. Gone are the days when people will be like, that doesn't happen here. People are really respectful of the different cultures today, and I think we are stealing some. I mean, we definitely are not the Africa that we were. Yeah, there's so much that has changed
We are
in so,
evolving. We're evolving. We're evolving.
yeah, and so much that has changed there. I think maybe I can get to maybe have you share your last remarks as we just call this a close. Maybe anything that you feel you want to finish up with, a thought that you want to share as we close up on this. But thank you so much. You've been so amazing, just getting to share about fashion and getting to understand the context, especially for you who's been in different cultures.
I just want to thank you again for allowing me to participate in the Power African Conference 2023 this year. I really do believe that this is an important subject. The information that we've talked about, to be able to hold on to our traditions and show the real value of African culture worldwide, it's our duty. It's our duty, especially in the media and the arts entertainment field, because we do have a big audience. This is a big audience. Media is everything. Arts and
Yeah,
culture is a very large portion of how people live. And you know, being able to be within that portion of people who do have an influence, I think is a blessing. So I just want to continue to use that to push the traditional culture, to use it to show how developed we are here, how we are progressing. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to speak on it. And Tess, I thank you for, being here. And again, I'm just glad that these types of conversations are happening. I'm glad that these types of conversations are happening because they're important.
they are. They sure are. Thank you so much, Azara. It was nice to meet you, and just nice to have you share about your passions and what you do, and getting to hear your experiences. And you owe me. I'm gonna be in Ghana, so you better prepare some good outfit for me. I love dressing up. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, I love
absolutely.
dressing up.
When you come to Ghana, you come and find me. I will measure you. As you can see, it's Jazara Fashion Alchemy. I'll have you looking very
Yes.
beautiful, no problem. But you can bring me some of your authentic Kenyan fabric. I'm sure you have something gorgeous over there. So bring
Oh,
me
we
some of
do.
your authentic, beautiful Kenyan fabric and let me make something for you.
We do. You'll definitely love it. Well, I hope that happens soon. But thank you so much for being here today. Well, I think for me, some of the things that I would just finish up with is saying that as a media practitioner, the place of integrity, the place of being authentic, and I know there's so much sometimes fake and trying to put up some things that are not. The media has a lot of pressure. It puts a lot of pressure. I mean, we're living in an era. I was listening to something to some a session today, and this person was saying that sometimes the media is like I don't know if I should say that. It's like gambling. You don't know what you're consuming. You don't know. You think you're enjoying, and he was saying it's important sometimes to
It's
just
for
take a
real.
pause. And as a media practitioner, I could say that we sometimes contribute a lot to just put out negative content, but as a consumer, you can choose. You can choose not to consume negative content. I mean, there are amazing media houses that are doing
Very
great
true.
things, and you could choose. You have the choice. You wouldn't just say, "Oh, the media is a bad place." They're always no. If you just get even online, and you would get positive, a lot of beautiful things like what Power of Africa Conference is doing, and get to learn and get to enjoy positive news and everything that is great. And so as we get to move around on digital media and meet up in the streets of social media, let's remember that as consumers of media content, we have the power to decide what we're going to take in and what we will not. Well, thank you so much for being part of this conference. It's been amazing being part of the Power of Africa Conference 2023. We were having the session on media, arts, and culture. Remember, this year's theme is The Future is Africa. And our topic today has been shaping the African narrative, propagating the developed Africa paradigm, and celebrating Africa's cultural value. We've had amazing panelists, Jazara, who's a fashion designer, and also getting to have Prince, though we didn't have him all the way. Thank you so much to all our panelists for being here. Well, we'll definitely hope to see you next time. Thank you for being part of this year's conference, and do have a beautiful time in whatever nation that you've been part of and watching this conference from.